Hi, hello. Welcome to an episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is April 29th, 2023. Hopefully, this episode finds you well in good spirits with high hopes. As for me, doing pretty good so far today. Saturday continued, if you will. I guess this is feel like my first part two episode, right? I never had a need to do part one, part two. Luckily, you don't have to go back and listen to the other episode. It is what it is. It's just more news. So there you go. A little different there. I have always wanted to say that. I feel like that's like one of those cliche things that happen in every long podcast. They do a part one, part two, and they always say that. Hey, don't listen to this if you haven't listened to the other one. And people are, I don't know why people would do that. Maybe they have a shuffle. Maybe that's it. Maybe you have your podcast on shuffle and it pulls up the newest one, and maybe you haven't caught up on that. Maybe that's the reason that happens sometimes. Anywho, I'm still doing good. I did some laundry, which usually do a little breakfast in. I got some donuts. They were yummy. Other than that, nothing else, nothing new on the food. So we can go ahead and just get into some news. We can go ahead and run through it. Actually, I am going to go ahead and just start off with my break. Why not? I got time. All right. Let's start from the top. Five dead in Texas execution-style shooting. Suspect armed with AR-15 is on the loose. So obviously this is still an ongoing shooting situation, at least in the sense of the shooter still being at large. I haven't heard anything update-wise from this article, but five people are dead after being shot in a Texas home by a suspect armed with an AR-15 style rifle in a horrific series of execution style shootings. Obviously, I always miss this shit, but trigger warning, at least for this one. I mean, there's going to be another physical violence thing at the end of this episode we got to cover. But let's see. A manhunt is currently underway for the suspect, identified as 39-year-old Francisco Oropeza, according to ABC station KTRK in Houston. So there's an arrest warrant issued for him, $5 million bond. This is a really sad ass situation. Literally, it was a situation between neighbors where they come over and they ask him, hey, like, you're shooting outside, like you're doing all the shooting stuff in the front yard. Could you just not do that? And he was intoxicated, and I guess he became belligerent, and this winds up escalating into him coming over to their home. And let's see, when authorities arrived at the location, they found several victims shot at the property. Three of the deceased were females and two were males, including the youngest, an 8-year-old boy. Two female victims were discovered in a bedroom, lying on top of two surviving children. So they literally shielded these children with their bodies, and that's why those children were able to make it. Just super sad. Like I said, all over just the idea of saying, hey, could you just not shoot in the front yard? And this man just said, hey, I'm going to fucking end these people's lives over it. It's senseless violence. It's so fucking upsetting. And it's the fact, too, that he's like, oh, now I don't want to, deal with these consequences, so I just want to be on the run. So he's just in the wind right now. Let's see here. Obviously, I will do more coverage on this when he's apprehended. But yeah, I mean, I could give you all the spiel, but I'm sure there's gonna be another shooting, and I'll try to pepper that in another time. I won't keep you. From NPR, two U.S. Army helicopters crash in Alaska, killing 3 soldiers. So yet again, this is crazy. I can't look away when it comes to these kind of just random stories, and how it's oh wow, it's almost that's weird. This has happened multiple times in a year. No, multiple military helicopters crashing. That's crazy. But let's go ahead and get into it. I believe, yeah, this took place in Healy, Alaska. But two U.S. Army helicopters crashed Thursday while returning from a training flight, killing three soldiers and injuring a fourth. Excuse me. Two were in each helicopter, and I don't know exactly any details of how they crashed, but I believe they crashed in like a forest near like the Denali Mountains or something like that. Let's see, but hold on. Healy is located about 10 miles north of Denali National Park, a preserve about 250 miles north of Anchorage. Okay, that's good to know. Little fun facts there. Maybe there's not a mountain. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, obviously, very sad situation. They were doing like a training operation, so it's a lot like I believe the situation that happened in Kentucky, and yeah, I guess an incident just occurs, and or maybe a malfunction. I don't know. I'm sure there's gonna be more details. Might cover that, but yeah, it's obviously really fucking sad. So condolences to the family. They didn't release the names as of yet. I think they're waiting till they notify, contact all the relatives, stuff like that. But that's all I really wanted to cover with that story. Moving on to Time. UK blocks Microsoft's 69 nice $1 billion Activision Blizzard deal. So we've covered this a little bit. This is another update in the story. Microsoft Corp's $69 billion takeover of Activision Blizzard Incorporated suffered a hammer blow after Britain's antitrust watchdog vetoed the gaming industry's biggest deal ever, saying it would harm competition in cloud gaming in a move that could set the tone for the world's biggest regulators. Now, there's going to be like other potential regulation hurdles they're going to have to get through. This was just like the first one. But I personally do think it was the right action. I think this is a kind of flashy deal that maybe they could say in an innovative sense is going to make yield. But I think in the long term, it's just a monopoly. Like, it's going to give them so many more titles. And they said, hey, well, we'll sell off like the biggest one, like Call of Duty, or at least one of the biggest ones. But I mean, they would still have so many others to work with and make money off of. Also, the conversation about cloud gaming, how Microsoft already has an edge there. So you're just giving them more bandwidth, and it would kind of, suppress smaller companies, other companies out of the market. So I do think this is a good call. I know that obviously the higher ups at both of these companies, Microsoft and Activision, obviously are still going to keep appealing, keep fighting for this very aggressively, vigorously. But yeah, I mean, we'll see how that goes. But I think this was a good call. Maybe I'm wrong. I obviously would love feedback from other people. If anyone in the gaming industry would love to like talk about this kind of shit, say, hey, no, there's actually more pros to this that you're not looking at, Mr. Podcast Man. I would love to hear it. But yeah, just an update there. Sad, I guess they're getting candy crushed on their dreams there, but same time, they don't need to make any more fucking money. They're making enough, which is also kind of the argument that was laid out. It's like Activision isn't really hurting here. I mean, their stocks did take a dive after this deal, but I mean, Activision is still a company making money. They're still pumping out games. They're still making money off said games, and that's why it's like almost like it's a half measure to say, oh well, we'll still have Call of Duty because like Call of Duty isn't necessarily doing the greatest right now. Like essentially, they're making probably the most money still off of Warzone, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe a free game, and I don't know if their major games are really crushing it right now. So that's an update there. I'm gonna do some coverage, and actually that's one more thing to go. Like I said, this wasn't too long, so I'm gonna take another one, cook it a little bit. Oh yeah. Ooh, yummy. From the Washington 4, NBC subsidiary thing, whatever. Unacceptable. 6 DC fire and EMS employees on leave after brawl on camera. unacceptable indeed. Let's see. Okay, let me give you a little bit more context of how I got to this story. I was scrolling through Twitter, as I'm often to do, and I just saw this random ass fucking post, and obviously it's kind of cringe in a way, but someone just making fun. But like they're like, man, I miss DC, and they post this video, and I'm literally just watching these firefighter and EMS like dudes just body slamming, beating, kicking a dude with steel-toed fucking boots on, like just a bunch of uniformed firefighters and EMS crew just beating up a dude. And I'm like, what the fuck is happening here? So once again, I realized, okay, this is a DC thing. So I look it up and I find the story, and sure enough, I watched this whole video because it makes the news. And essentially, what happens is this firefighter EMS crew, like it's like Engine 6 or whatever, and also a medic unit were there. They were called to a crash near Florida Avenue and North Capitol Street on Tuesday night. Now, they were assessing the patients, and one man threw a punch at the fire lieutenant in charge. And that response apparently evoked this whole thing where these 6 dudes just rushed this guy. And I'm telling you, at one point, as they're meleeing him, brawling him, they pick him up, slam him to the ground, and that's when and then they continue to just kick, pile on, melee, and that's when you see the kick, and I'm just like, what in the hell is happening? And there's no indication yet as why the man threw the punch. They haven't been able to find the guy and talk to him about it. But that being said, I don't give a shit. Why did this escalate like this? Like, if you watch the video, at least from the news, they interview more firefighters and stuff like that, and they're just like doing all this running defense shit. Well, they're just like, oh well, you just don't understand. Like, they were defending their lieutenant. He got punched. Like, this is a growing issue, actually, of people just being violent and belligerent. And I was like, whoa, what the fuck? Wait, whoa. That doesn't make sense on why, after the lieutenant is punched, they all react so aggressively. Like, yes, maybe you need to detain this man. And also another issue here is that the cops weren't on scene yet, but then I see a scene where there's literally a guy with a taser just ready, like, let me get in there. There's too many of you guys. I can't get the guy. Like, of course, they're 6 on 1. It just doesn't make sense. The response is not measured. It doesn't make sense at all to me. These guys literally went into Derek Chauvin mode and just waylaid on him. Like, it's insane. I don't get it. And they just turn into the boys in blue, and that's not okay. Also, they brought up charges, and he was arrested, the man, but they dropped the charges, which is like, oh wow, that's so strange. And it's almost as if they understood that we are in a very sticky situation here, and if we put charges on this guy, yes, he did something wrong, throwing a punch, but we don't know any and all of the details at all. And not to mention, we do have a video of firefighters kicking, punching, throwing around another man, a citizen, a civilian. What the fuck is that about? So I think they wanted to do a little broom, super broom, move the story along. So yeah, it's fun. We love to talk about it. We hate to see it. Actually, we hate to talk about it. I wish I could just talk about good stories all the time. I wish this was just a good vibes podcast. But that'd be boring to me, and I would see all this other icky shit and want to talk about it, so I can't help it. This is what it is. Wow, this might be the shortest episode in a very long time. Let's see. I do have a Patreon, though, if you'd like to support. Patreon.com/Isaiah News. You get access to bonus content. I do an extra episode every week. Also, get a hot link to that Discord. And that is free, though. You can just hit me up, and we'll just shoot you that. Also, you get newsy status. And at the top of every month, I do a roll call, say your name on the podcast, and plug whatever project or thing you're doing. So, that's a thing. That's an option if you would like to help out and support. Free ways to hit me up, though. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can comment on the YouTube. Also, feel free to follow and subscribe. That helps a lot. Also, just gives you the quickest access to my content. So there you go. Yeah, yee. Other than that, that's all I got. Thank you so much for tuning in, and hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love you. Bye-bye. Mwah.